250 years ago, a group of men staked everything on a single idea that government is only legitimate when it actually represents the people it governs, not a party, not a donor class, not an entrenched power structure protecting its own interests, the people. So here's the question worth asking as America turns 250. Does our government still reflect that? Does a system where two parties write the ballot access laws, control the primaries, and spend millions making sure outsiders never actually get a real shot, does that system actually represent you? Tonight, we're going to find out what happens when someone tries to hold that system accountable and why the two party system will do almost anything to make sure he fails. So it's time to go behind the scenes of empire. This is the LCI Green Room. Welcome in, everybody. I'm glad you are here tonight. I am Jacob Winograd. I am the host of the Biblical Anarchy podcast here at the Libertarian Christian Institute, part of our Christians for Liberty network. And this is our live show, the LCI Green Room, where Christians, such as myself, sit down to talk with interesting guests or have panels or debates, but all aimed at taking liberty and things going around in the world today seriously and having conversations that maybe the mainstream political world would rather not have or rather you not listen to. If you're watching live, drop a hello in the chat. Let us know where you're tuning in from. We love to see you here. Tonight, again, we're talking about something that I think should bother every American, regardless of where you land politically. We're turning 250 as a country this year, and yet we have to ask whether this two-party system that we have been born into has really kept the tradition, the sort of ethos that this country was founded on, or if it's betrayed it. My guest tonight probably has a lot to say about that. He has ran for governor of New York as a libertarian. He's ran for vice president of the United States. And now he is again taking another shot at the governorship, this time working within the Republican Party, which we'll get into. Every step, he has come face to face with a system that doesn't just want to beat its opponents, wants to make sure that certain opponents never get to play at all. He's one of the most persistent, principled, and frankly entertaining voices in third-party politics today. Please help me welcome the one and only Larry Sharpe. Larry, thanks for being here with us tonight.
I can be us too. Oh, good. Let's be us. Let's be with us. I am here. Yes. Happy to be here, brother. Happy to be here.
Happy you are here. I just realized it's the first time I've had you on my show. I've been on your show, and
because you don't like me is why. That's your problem.
That's my problem. I actually just,
that's your problem.
You are just too, you're too smart. You're going to make me, this is why I'm already stumbling over my words, right? I'm just I'm a PA country boy who doesn't know any better.
I'm a big city guy. I'm intimidating.
Yes, exactly. That's what it is. Larry, go ahead and just for the oddball who walks in here, doesn't know who you are. Who is Larry Sharpe?
He's the guy who wears a cool shirt like this, running for governor, even right here, all this stuff. I brought all my cool stuff to show everyone. So yes, no, I'm actually someone who's trying to make real change. That's the hardest part. And I say it all the time. If you can change New York, you can change the entire country. We are the least free state in the union as ranked by Cato. I think now 6 years in a row. Take that, California, we're number one. So I think we are the least free. Not just that, we have the worst ballot access laws in the entire country. In 2024, we were the only state in the entire union that had nobody, no independent candidate on the ballot for president. And in 2022, it was the first time in about, I think 80 or 90 years, 100 years maybe, where we didn't have an independent on the ballot for governor. We have completely gotten rid of our independent parties. And worse, we don't have open primaries. So what winds up happening is I actually do not have democracy. A lot of people are saying, and they think I'm joking. I'm not. The problem is, since I don't have open primaries and they throw you off the ballot and don't let anyone else get on the ballot, the only people who win where I am is Democrats. I live in New York City. So I literally, before Mamdani became my mayor, he was my assemblyman, and AOC is my congressman. I accept your condolences. So with that in mind, the Democrats always win. In fact, when it came to local politics, the Republicans haven't run a candidate in my district in 12 years. They don't bother running candidates. Mamdani used to run unopposed. He would win 99-1. Jacob Saddam Hussein would be jealous of those numbers. Stalin would be jealous. Kim Jong-un is like, damn, how are you getting them numbers? How can you get, I don't get 99%. How do you do that? So those guys were jealous of Mamdani when he was running. That is how bad it was. So yeah, that's where I am right now. And I'm trying to change that. Here's the hard part though. Because Democrats always win, Democrats then, where I live at, it is, where always where I live. And because I can't vote in primary, I cannot vote for anyone locally. It doesn't matter who I vote for, right? Because it's irrelevant. But that's not only true in my city, that's also true statewide. Statewide, no Republican has won a statewide election, not senator, not governor, anything, in 24 years. So no Republicans win in the state. Not just that. We haven't had a Republican win my state at the federal level in decades also. So at the city level, the state level, and the federal level, I just have to hope I have a good king.
Yeah, I remember when I was in New York last year, we attended Doug Stewart and I, he's our content director here at LCI. We attended a Soho Forum debate, and we were there walking around the city, and we noticed that they're just on all these different corners and whatnot, there'd just be these giant walled off sections along the sidewalk where just giant piles of trash were. And so we made this little like man on the street reel on YouTube. It's just like, without the government, who would take your trash and pile it on the streets for you, right? It's like, gosh, like if I wasn't paying money to the government, then I'd have to go and throw my own trash on the street. I mean,
exactly.
And put it
I
in
agree.
piles.
Who would find me for not for teaching my kid what I want to teach my kid in my own home? Who would find me for that if it wasn't for government, right? Who would shut down a store that the people in the local community want to have, but doesn't have a license or whatever the case? Who would find me for that? Who would find me? There was a time across New York City where all the bodegas on the corner had to pull down all their signs. They couldn't have any signs. And you say, why wouldn't they have any signs? Because they made changes to the law randomly, because they always do that in the building codes. So now they had to change all the signs. Well, they couldn't afford the new signs. But if they had the old sign up, then that was a fine. So they all just pulled signs down. So who would make sure no one knows where your bodega is if it isn't for the government?
Absolutely crazy. Larry, you've been doing this for a while, longer than me. But when you got in, let me know, like, did you come in with optimism and then did your experience crush that? Or did you go in kind of knowing that you were going to be screwed? Like, when did you realize, was it before or after you started getting involved in politics, that the system wasn't going to give you a fair shot?
Two things. Most people come to libertarianism through like someone like they read Mises or they, Ron Paul or something like that. Most came that way. I actually didn't. I was just a rebel in general. I was a guy who voted for Ross Perot and Ralph Nader, and I couldn't have told you any of their policies. I could not have told you one policy. I was just like, they're not the big guys, so they're good. That's as far as my politics went. I didn't even know what party they were part of. I didn't care. I just voted for those guys. Then came Obama, and I was like, okay, now we're ready. This is the guy. Yeah, I know you're laughing. I bought the lie. I did. I bought it. I was like, this is the guy. This is going to work. Okay, now, finally, see, we're good. And then I saw, no, this was garbage too. Okay, that was not true at all. By 2010, I was extra mad at Obama because no one I had voted for had ever won before. So I wasn't disappointed, if that makes any sense. I was never disappointed because no one I voted for ever won. This time the guy I voted for won. What happened? And still nothing. So I thought, okay. I was so mad at that, I wasn't going to vote again. I was like, I'm done. It's over. It is over. I'm done. I'm not, fool me once. That's it. Never again. But then I was kind of already into libertarianism for a whole different reason. I came into libertarianism through Robert Ringer. Robert Ringer, for those you don't know, is actually like a sales and marketing and business guru. And that's what I do for a living. In my day job, I'm a business coach. So that's how I learned through Robert Ringer. But Robert Ringer is not a libertarian. Robert Ringer is actually more of an objectivist. But a lot of those objectivist views overlapped libertarians, and he was like over libertarian light. So he kind of was libertarian-ish. So I was like, okay, that's okay. That opened my mind to it. I was already teaching libertarian leadership already in colleges. I teach at many colleges, so I would teach that stuff already. And then I heard Gary Johnson speak in 2012, and it all connected. And I was like, okay, this is it, right? I got it. This is it. So at that point, I think, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm going to follow these librarians or whatever. Oh, libertarians, fine. Whatever they're called. I don't care. I'm going to do those guys, right? I thought librarians. I didn't know. Whatever. They were smart. So it must be librarians. Any case. So I decided I'm going to copy them, and I was all in. In 2014, I wanted to help out. And so in 2014, we had a governor's candidate here in New York who wanted to get ballot access. I didn't know what that meant. I didn't know how that worked. I had no idea. I was like, what can I do? And he was like, you can give me money and pay for stuff and drive me and stuff. And I said, done. So I gave him money and I drove him around and I prepped him. I was his driver and I prepped him for his debate. I did all that stuff. I was just okay. And we got slaughtered. Like it wasn't even close. And I was like, okay, that wasn't fun. Like we got slaughtered. Out of the entire country, we got entire state, we got like 12,000 votes or something. I mean, it was terrible. We got the state of 20 million. We got slaughtered. And I was like, okay, that's not good, right? That's not good. And after that point, I said, okay, I got to do something. So Gary Johnson's running in 2016. I'm like all in. Gary's back. I'm in. Let's do this. And then he said, so I went to him and I said, I know him. So I was sitting with him in a diner in New York City. And I said, I always come governor. I said, Governor, I want to be your lieutenant governor. I'm sorry, your vice president. He said, Larry, I don't want you as my vice president. And I was like, but I accepted it. I said, okay. I said, Governor, if you tell me, not to run, I won't run. And you know what Gary Johnson told me? He said, no, Larry, you should run. You'll raise the bar. That's the good man that Gary Johnson is. Gary Johnson was not the best libertarian speaker. He wasn't the best messenger, but man, was he a good man. He was a good person. He was a really good man. And he said that, and I was like, okay, I'm running. And I ran hard to be his VP. People say, we really screwed up with Bill Weld. Nobody tried to stop Bill Weld more than I did. Nobody spent more time. Nobody spent more money. My campaign, I paid for myself. I paid for my own campaign out of my own. I didn't get one. I dropped thousands of dollars on that damn campaign doing that. And I showed up and I busted my rump. And then once I lost that vote by 31 votes, not that I'm counting. I'm not counting 31 votes. I'm not mad. 31 votes. Anyway, I lost by 31 votes. So once I lost, I then decided I went upstairs to my hotel room, took a quick nap, came downstairs, and started raising money for Gary Johnson. And I raised $100,000 for him in one night. And I just kept going. I raised probably $250,000 for him over the course of that campaign, I guess, give or take. Did whatever he asked me to do, showed up. When he told me to show up, I was supporting. He would say like, hey, come on down to DC and I need you to, raise money for me in DC. And I'd be like, when? He's like, tomorrow. Damn it. I would cancel my day, take an Acela train down to DC, raise money for him and head back. That's what I would do. So I was all in. But the reason why I wanted to do it is because I recognized that once Gary left, there'd be nobody. And the one thing that was great, there were two things that were really great about Gary Johnson. One of them was when he was running, people really believed he can get 5%. Like people thought, and I did too. I was on board. I thought Gary could get, if anyone could get 5% for the Libertarian Party nationally, it was Gary Johnson. I thought he could do it. Most people did. And because of that, we were more united than I'd ever seen us. Even the most radical libertarians were at least quiet. They're like, all right, I don't like this guy, because he wasn't radical at all. But they were like, but he might get his 5%. I'll shut up. I'll just. So there was that. So he really was, he united us because we really thought we were going to get success out of it. And when he failed to get 5%, man, were we just, and then he walked away and we were like, what? And it really hurt the party badly. So I thought, no worries. I got this. I'm going to run for governor of New York and I'm going to bring the banner home. I got this. No worries. And I was kind of right in that I did get ballot access for New York State for the first time ever in 2018. And it did begin to do, but it took a massive toll on me. And I learned a lot. You asked, when did I realize how bad it was? 2018 was my first time understanding how bad it was. My people thought my campaign was great, and relatively, it was great, but it wasn't rocking and rolling at all till the summer. It took a year before my campaign was actually really running. We were just guessing and pulling stuff out of our derriere, and we were just trying stuff. This true story, when I got on Rogan, not joking. I don't know how popular Rogan is. I didn't even know. So I'm serious. I didn't even know. So my team goes, Larry, you going on Rogan? And I literally said this. I said, the Man Show guy? That's all I know him from. I was like, the Man Show guy? No, like the podcast. I'm like, oh, he's got a podcast? They're like, man. Didn't know the guy. Had no idea. So that's how my campaign was running, like that. Oh, you're going on Glenn Beck. Oh yeah, I know Glenn, the radio guy. No, he's got up. Oh, okay. Like that's how it was. It was that much of us, just everyone trying really hard. But then we found out a couple things, and things that people don't know. And one of those is why I wasn't going into polls. I didn't recognize how much pay to play it was. That really shocked me, how much. Like, I wasn't silly. I knew it was pay to play, but I had no idea how blatant it was. So anyway, in 2018, I've raised $500,000. I'm going on all the big podcasts. I'm on the ballot. I'm across in the state. I'm doing 9-day tours. I mean, crazy stuff, right? So I call up the polling companies, literally. And I'm like, why am I not in the polls? In every poll, there's a Democrat, Republican, not me. And they were very forward. Oh, you don't buy the poll. I said, what? Well, you got to buy the poll. I said, so if I buy the poll a minute? Yeah. How would I know that? I don't know how that works. I had no idea. I thought like people did polls because they cared and stuff. Boy, did I learn that lesson the hard way. No, people are two types of polls. Internal polls to find out what's real, and external polls to market. I didn't know that. Well, I learned in 2018, that's how you do it. So I said, great, I got some money. How much does the poll cost? $40,000. I can't swing 40 grand. I've only raised $500,000 total the entire campaign. I can't swing 40 grand, right? No way. So I couldn't do polling. So I learned my lesson the hard way. So I also go to the local radio stations, TV stations, and say, guys, why aren't you covering? I'm literally in your town. I'm doing an event in a local business in your town. Why isn't one of your guys there? They went, you don't buy ads. So I got to buy ads? Yeah, you got covered. Got to buy ads. There we go. And when I say to people, they tell me I'm lying. That's not true. Run for office then. Run for office then. And you tell me that's not true. Run for office as an independent and tell me that's now as a Republican Democrat, you'll get it. Because Republicans as a whole buy ads. Democrats as whole buy ads, right? They all buy ads through PACs. So as a Republican and Democrat, you will get it. And they only know that. So they go, Larry, you're lying. I'm not lying because I don't have a PAC behind me that will actually buy ads. If you have a PAC behind you who will buy ads, I'll get covered. Democrats, Republicans have that. So they'll get covered. And that's the reason why how that works. I learned that. So then it got worse. So now I'm pissed off because of 2018. So I said, you know what? I'm going to run again. So the problem is it took a toll on me. I was $100,000 in debt at the end of that race, and I was mentally and physically broken. So I had to take time off. Boy, was that a mistake. Me taking time off and walking away to try to get myself together. Libertarians went into there. No one's a real libertarian, and I'm the smartest, and now we have power, and I'm going to make everybody angry. And the party began to fall apart, which was really disappointing. But the worst thing that happened is 2019, I still made up enough time to cross the state again so I could support local candidates. And we actually had a bunch of local candidates. We had 107 local victories in 2019, all libertarians in New York State. We went from 0 libertarians to 107 and 1 in New York City. So it's crazy that we had those kind of victories. So right after that, Cuomo, my governor, then said, oh, we can't have that. And he changed all the rules, destroyed our party. Lockdowns came, trashed everything. And then we had Jo Jorgensen, who was not an effective candidate. So her not being effective and our party being destroyed, she couldn't get ballot access in New York State. We lost it. We couldn't get it back. So 2022, I say, all right, that's it. I'm back in action. I'm going to take care of this. I'm going to run again. I'm going to fix this whole thing. See how good I am? I got it. And I said, but here it is. I have the plan to win. I got this plan. We're going to make a coalition and we're going to win. And so I go to all these coalition guys and I go, okay, will you back me? Yes. Will you back me? Yes. Larry, it's a good idea. You'll back me? Yes. They all say yes. So I start going forward, pushing it, raising money for this massive coalition, talking to people, setting up PACs, the whole deal, ready to go for this great coalition. And they all stab me in the back. Every one of them. Every one of them stabbed me in the back. Said they were gonna and literally lied. Just said, nope. Gave me no money, gave me nothing, left me hanging totally. So I went to the Republicans and said, guys, we discussed this. If I do this right, we'll win. If I get it was a 3 different parties, 4 different parties, all these lines, we'll break a hole, we'll beat Hochul. This is the time. And they went, Larry, you are right. So we're going to sue you off the ballot. And I'm not joking. That literally happened. I say it publicly because that actually happened. So the first time the Democrats got rid of me, the second time Republicans got rid of me. So I'm an equal opportunity backstabber. So they stabbed me either way. And the worst part is, after that happened, all the libertarians went, Larry, you lied to us. You lied to us. Why would I lie to you about this? Like, why would I scam? At the end of this campaign, I was $40,000 in debt and got my butt kicked like there's no tomorrow. And that was me. I'm the worst grifter in the world. You should never follow me. I'm terrible. And that's when I found out that they don't actually care about winning. They care about staying in power, whatever local groups they have. They want their local jobs, patronage. That's what they care about. Actually changing the state, that's unimportant. Not just that. The Republicans in my state, the Republican leadership in my state, I should say, not the Republicans, the leadership itself, they don't want to be in charge because then they're responsible. And my state's a disaster. And they do not want that responsibility at all.
There's something to just kind of perpetually being the loser and being like, well, it's not our fault this place sucks, but we can complain about it.
So, yes. Yeah. So that's when I really recognized how bad it was. Excuse me. So that was a very long way of answering your question. I hope I answered it at least.
Well, no, you did. And you kind of answered my second question, although I should have changed the second question. My second question was going to be, what tactics did the two-party system use to keep you off the ballot or to fight you? I think the better question would be, what tactics did they not use? I mean,
correct.
I was waiting for you to say, and then they threw a kitchen sink at me, and I wouldn't have blinked.
Yes, correct. Yes, they keep doing it. They're still doing it now. In fact, to give you what they did now, I then said, okay, you've wrecked my party. You've made it so that I cannot get on the ballot at all. You've made sure I can't do it. And to be very clear, the rules that they put together in 2022, Lee Zeldin, who was the Republican nominee and a sitting congressman at the time, he couldn't get on the ballot, the independent line. I'm not joking. The Republican nominee, and he was a sitting congressman, he could not get on the ballot at this point. So I said, it's impossible. You made it impossible. Oh, great. I'm running as Republican. And when they found that out, I'm not joking. When they found that out, they changed all the rules. They're like, oh, Larry is running. Okay. They moved, again, I'm not making this up. They moved the Republican convention up a month to give me less time, which then changes the petitioning.
Right.
Which then puts it into the winter. Last weekend I couldn't petition because it's literally a snowstorm here. So they made sure that would happen. Not just that, I wish I was joking. They made a new rule, which again, never existed before. You have to have lieutenant governor on your ticket at that point. That was never, they made that rule up. So they said, that'll get rid of him. And then when they did the Republican convention, there was no space for a nomination except the one they had. They made a coronation.
Wait, are you sure, Larry? I thought the Republican Party was the party of free markets and competition. You're saying they're not for competition?
What I'm saying is they decided to create the Kamala Harris of the New York State GOP. That's what I'm telling you. Yes, they literally coordinated their person with no primary. Correct. That's how they did it. So, yeah. See, Kamala Harris is good when it's my Kamala Harris.
Right.
But when it's your Kamala Harris, it's a bad one.
Well, just like
correct.
War with Iran is great when our president does it, not when your president says he's going to do it. You know, that's the way it goes. We did get a super chat. I'll read quick from Philip Vecchio. Larry Sharpe, Hope and Change, New York.
Yes.
Get your new campaign slogan.
Well, here, I'll give you another good example of this, right? In 2008, a very charismatic young Democrat won the presidency, a guy by the name of Barack Obama. So the GOP said, okay, all right, we got to beat this young charismatic Democrat. I know what we'll do. Mitt Romney. That'll work. I'm not joking. They literally did that. So now here in New York, we just had this last year, a young charismatic Democrat Gabby Mamdani just win mayor of New York. So the Republicans said, good, we got this. We're going to use Mitt Romney Jr., guy named Bruce Blakeman. They both did exactly the same thing. Just obviously surrendering, obviously giving up. It's embarrassing.
I mean, there's so many angles that I could go with this question, but when I think people know that there's a problem with money in politics, but they don't know it. They haven't actually been in it like you have been in it to see just how, even you said, you were like, oh, I know it's pay to play, but I didn't know to the extent to which it was pay to play. And that's not just, so there's obviously the ballot access law issue. And, I think there's something to this, by the way, and I don't know if I agree with it, but I understand why people say it, because they say we almost need a third party that's just a single issue party for ballot access reform, because so much of what they do beyond just the pay to play stuff you've described is we third party candidates or independent candidates when we're running. It's not just that we have to get on the ballot and get the petitioning stuff filled out correctly. And, we have to go they say you need this many signatures. Yeah, we probably need 1.2 or 1.5 that times of signatures, because you're going to go and dispute as many as you can, because they go, oh, there's a little smudge here. Oh, we can't read that there, and whatever. You come up with all sorts of excuses. But in order to get that petitioning done, in order to get that kind of awareness, we have to put so much money just towards letting people know we exist. And that is such an uphill battle that even if you had the Libertarian Party infighting solved, even if you had the most charismatic, principled candidate that the entire party rallied behind, they would still have this giant stone to roll uphill of just guys, just to even show up and play the game is going to take all of this time and all of this money. And then by the time you get there, you're running on reserves to then actually play the real game.
Yes, and the problem is people always say things like, well, Larry, the state is 20 million people, or 19 million people. 15,000 is not that many signatures. 45,000. You're not wrong. You're not wrong. But they don't go, you got 6 months, good luck. They go, you must only do it in 6 weeks. And the 6 weeks that we say, and it must be this way, that way, the other way, the other way. It must be all these things. If they just said, look, if you get 45,000 signatures before, whatever, October, you're on. That will be fine. That's the number isn't the issue. It's the way it must be done. It's all the other things that make it impossible. And here's the next part. No one else has to do it.
Right.
Democrats don't have to do it. Republicans don't have to do it. They just get on the ballot.
Right.
How is that legal? That's the problem. If you're going to tell me we all have to do it, I'm not mad, because there'd be no one on the ballot.
Right.
There will be no one on the ballot. I know that already because I've just seen it. No one will be on the ballot. There'd be no election. We wouldn't have a governor. And I'm not mad at that. We have no governor. Fine. Yes, that'd be totally fine. So yes, there'd be no one on the ballot. So I'm okay with that. But that's the problem. They go, well, they all got to do it. No, they don't. You make everybody do it, I'm in. Because the second that happens, it'll be fair. And that's the problem.
Well, all animals are equal, Larry, but some more equal than others, right?
True.
So, I mean, we live in a constitutional republic, and we have, consent of the governed because they're represented. But by represented, we mean they're represented by the people we choose that they can pick from to be represented by.
Not even that
thing that they stuck in there,
because we allow gerrymandering, because we allow party politics, and we allow gerrymandering. I don't have democracy. This concept, I'm not exaggerating when I say that.
It's theater.
It's theater. I know democracy. I don't have it. And it was, what the worst part is? The biggest disappointment that I had is I used to believe in the justice system. I used to. And even when I didn't believe in it, there was still a part of me that just wanted to believe there was still something good in it. I just didn't want to accept it. I didn't want to, but oh my God, it's garbage. Our judges in my state are just garbage. And they use the law not as a way of justice or saving. They use it as a crutch, as an excuse to do bad. Here's what I know. And this is, I got this from Gary Johnson. Gary Johnson told me this. He said, he would ask this question of judges when he was a governor of New Mexico. He goes, the legislature passes a law that says if you're convicted of graffiti and you're 16 years or older, mandatory death sentence. You're now a judge, and a kid comes up to you into your courtroom. The jury convicts him, he's 16, of graffiti. Your job now is mandatory death sentence. What do you do? And he said, if they said anything other than convict him, he will consider them to be a judge. If they said just death them, no, he can't be a judge. And I was like, that's brilliant. I love that idea. So my point is, in New York State, at least 80% of my judges are like, kill him. It's the law. It's the law. You ask them, what they will say is, they'll tell you, my job is to follow the law. Okay, idiot. No, it isn't. It's in the Constitution. Your job is to interpret the laws and save us from the brain dead, empty suit chimps that are in our assemblies who make bad laws. Your job is to protect us from them, not to reinforce their horribleness. But they just reinforce their horribleness. That's the worst part.
No, 100%. And I'm not a lawyer, so I'm sure there's maybe a
so I like you now. You're fine. I like you.
Right. There's probably a better way to articulate this, but I do know about jury nullification.
Yes.
And so if there's jury nullification, a judge isn't just, well, there's not. Okay.
No.
Oh, no.
Oh,
am I wrong on that?
You are wrong. Let me tell you why you're wrong. In my state, I'm not joking. Judges in New York State tell you that it's against the law. They literally, in the jury instructions, I know one of my consulting things, I consult in defense attorneys. They literally say, no, you must convict. Doesn't matter if you agree with the law or not. They literally tell you that, and there's no defense. I had a judge in the case of Dexter Taylor. Let's call him Dexter Taylor, where it was a Second Amendment issue. The judge literally said, don't bring the Second Amendment in my courtroom. And her punishment was nothing. Yes, my judges are terrible. So in New York State, jury nullification does not exist. If you bring it up, they throw you off the jury. And then the judge tells you, literally the judge tells the jury in the jury instruction, there is no such thing as jury nullification. You may not do that. Tells you to your face.
But Larry,
when I am governor, I will literally put that in one of my addresses. Never a judge saying that is lying to you. Ignore that judge.
I mean, what do you? It's so absurd, and I feel like part of the problem we're fighting, Larry, is that I think there are some people who they get angry when we talk about this stuff because they don't want to face the reality of kind of acknowledging that, oh, we don't live in a free country, right? Now, listen, don't get me wrong.
I don't like it either. I agree with them. It sucks.
Well, listen, I agree. I'm not saying that there's not places in the world that are comparatively less free or where the slave masters are more oppressive, but they would just rather kind of live comfortable. Like I said, this is the Libertarian Christian Institute. I talk to a primarily Christian audience, and a lot of Christians I run into, good, well-intentioned brothers and sisters in Christ, they just kind of view my involvement in politics as just sort of like, well, that's just kind of worldly stuff, and we live in a free country, so maybe things aren't perfect, but you shouldn't get so worked up about it or so involved about it. And I try to really push them on showing them why
until your taxpayer dollars in New York State are paying for women's abortions.
Oh, right, exactly, right. Yeah, that's a huge thing. Or I mean, the whole rabbit trail could go on that. I mean, but yeah, 100%. And if you want to push them on this and get them to look at just how corrupt the thing is, there's something in them that they're kind of faced with this choice. I think if you're an ethical person, if you believe in right and wrong, objective good and evil, and you're confronted with the realities we're talking about, your options are either to be compelled to speak out and take action, or put your head in the mud, pretend it doesn't exist. And it's a lot easier to put your head in the mud and pretend it doesn't exist.
Until they don't allow you to teach your kid what you want to teach your kid in my state, and they force your kid into a school.
Oh, but then the problem there is then instead of getting involved in sort of saying, well, this system is corrupt and we need to fundamentally change it, they go, ooh, this really not articulate, this very loud person is getting up there and saying, yeah, that thing you care about, that's a problem. Put me in charge and I'll solve all your problems, right?
Right.
And that's
Yes.
the issue, is that even when some people start to realize, oh, there's real issues at play here that I don't like, my children are being indoctrinated into things that I don't want them to be, and my rights as a parent are being infringed upon.
Yep.
The solution to that isn't automatic, it should be intuitively less government, but instead they think, well, no, more government's fine. It's just we need the right person in charge of the more
It's the
government.
right government. That'll do it.
Right.
Exactly right. Yes. Just one more gulag, and then we'll have that utopia I've been telling you about, Jacob. Just one more gulag. Okay, maybe two more gulags, but that's it. Then we have utopia. That's all we need. So yes, 100%. Or when my state decides that you don't get a religious exemption when it comes to medical,
man,
when they take that away.
I get worried about that, because even just besides what the law says in individual states or federal law, there is just the fact that our healthcare system is so federalized, nationalized at this point. Even if it's not on paper, it basically is.
It is.
And doctors will, I mean, because my family, for religious reasons and other reasons, we opt out of, I'll just say, certain things being injected into the bodies of our children. And instead of the doctors sort of like respecting that choice, they decide to, spend 30 minutes of the visit putting tons of propaganda in our face, trying to say, like, if you don't make this decision, then you need to sign this paper that basically says that you're willing to let your child die. And
Right.
it's just like,
Yes.
well, so, and that's, so again,
and you're a horrible human being who wants everyone else to die also.
well,
Don't
and
forget that part.
I've already seen people in my state have CPS called on them because of
Yes.
their decisions on certain medical practices and whatnot.
Yep.
So it's gonna, even like to the point where we do home births. We have 5 kids, and we use the same midwife for the last 2, and she's like a more like a classic progressive who actually is skeptical of the government in certain ways. But even in the midst of all the sort of like COVID insanity and whatnot,
that used to be a lefty thing.
It used to be,
Yes.
but then, like, she was noticing as a midwife that she does a lot of home births for like the Amish, and she was noticing that the hospitals and whatnot were starting to even crack down on them, and they're supposed to have like the most religious protection out of any community,
Correct.
in the country. So it's getting more. Again, like, if you talk about this, people just want to say, you're a panikin, you're a black pillar, you're a doomer, and I'm just like, I don't know, like, at what point, like,
Oh, were those
would you
insults?
well,
I'm sorry.
Would you be saying that to people in, like, Germany in 1938? Just be like, oh, you're such a doomer.
Oh, they would have. Every one of those
Probably.
people who thinks they wouldn't, they would have been putting people on the trains. Every one of them. Every one of them would have been putting people on the trains. Absolutely. They talk trash like they're better, and they would have put them on trains, guaranteed. They'd be wearing an armband, 100%. Every one of them.
One of my favorite people in the Liberty Movement, Dave Smith, had this clash with Tim Pool, and he had the correct take on this, because Tim was being accused of being a bootlicker, because he's kind of flipped on a lot of things. He used to be anti-war, he used to be anti-police state, and then all of a sudden he's like, cheering the ICE agents and whatnot, and kind of what's going on in a lot of these cities over the last few months, and supporting them, and they're calling him a bootlicker. He's like, no, I'm not a bootlicker, I am the boot.
Yes.
And then Dave called him out and was like, dude, you're like a 8-year-old playing with toys. You
Right.
know what I mean? And that's
Right.
that's kind of like the mentality I see from a lot of conservatives, is like, they, and I guess, listen, I don't want to let Democrats off the hook. They have their own sort of, we could do a different Freudian analysis on kind of what drives their authoritarianism. But with, right now Trump's in power, the conservatives are in power. You're dealing with, even though it's a Democratic state, you're dealing with corruption from the Republican Party, or in your state. And a lot of these people, it's like they treat politics literally like they're playing a video game, or they're watching like Saturday morning cartoons or something, right?
No, the
And
issue is that they're looking at it like it's a sports game.
yeah,
It's
it's a good
like
analogy.
I'm a Yankee fan. I am. I like the Yankees. I grew up in the Bronx. So when the Yankees win, I do feel good. And I say things like, "We won," right? Because it's a sports. But in reality, did I win? No. I still can't pay my rent. My kids still can't read. My taxes are still too high, right? All my bad things still exist, right? All that still exist. But I got a warm, fuzzy feeling because my team won. Those guys are all millionaires and they're doing just fine, right? But I didn't win. But we're now at a point where winning, is the other guy losing, not my life being better. So if you're the bad guy, Jacob, as
Yeah.
long as you lose, I win. Now, you might ask, did my life get better? No. Did anything get better? No. But Jacob lost. Therefore, I won. And the funny part is all the leaders, they win no matter what.
Right.
It doesn't matter. So they're always winning. Like all of the baseball players are all making $1 million a year or more. So all of them win, even the losers. That's where we are.
I have to take this opportunity to say I need to eat a little crow, because when I entered the Libertarian Party, I thought that some of the candidates, some of the activists, some of the party leaders, I thought, and maybe there's something to say here where maybe I had half a point, but I thought the way they talked about the using the term duopoly and the talking point about ending the two-party system, I've always agreed with that. I thought there was something where it became a little bit overused or overemphasized of a talking point. And my reasoning was, and you can tell me what you think of this, I was like, well, my goal as a libertarian, as a Christian, is like, yeah, the two-party system's bad, but like I'm not just here to end the two-party system. I'm here to advance liberty. If we get a three-party system or a four-party system and they all suck, well, that's not any better from my vantage point. That was kind of my position. But I do think that I now understand a bit more with more time in the movement and in politics, knowing why I think a lot of those people did focus on it. And it's exactly what you're pointing out, which is that there is actually something maybe especially pernicious about it being a two-party system,
Correct.
because it does create that good versus evil, us
Yep.
versus them brain hack in people
Yep.
that makes it impossible to reach them with reason or logic.
Yes, because it doesn't matter. Here's the issue. And you see it all the time. You see it now. There are lots of people, and you'll see it now with the right now, you see it with the Democrats. There are so many independents who are leaving Trump now, right? So many of the independents leaving Trump. Trump made a great coalition in 2024, and a lot of that coalition is falling apart. Republicans still like Trump now, but a lot of independents are walking away from him. So Democrats now are going, see, you dummies. Why did you vote for Trump, you dummies? And my point is, you called this guy Hitler. You called him that for years, and people still voted for him. How bad was your candidate? Will you take no responsibility? They
Right.
voted for Hitler over your candidate twice. Well, how bad was what responsibility will you take for your candidate? However, what if there was a third what if there was a third party? What if there was a Gary Johnson type actually that existed? What if that type of person actually was there? Well, now if I call someone Stalin and someone Hitler, I can vote for neither.
Right.
The negativity doesn't work as well when there's three, right? Because right now it's, I know I'm a murderer, but Jacob's a mass murderer. You don't want to vote for a mass murderer, do you? Vote for the murderer. But if there's a guy there who's not a murderer, they go, well, why don't I vote for the guy who's not a murderer at all? How about that guy?
And the point isn't about believing that the Libertarian Party candidate can win, because I think we would all acknowledge that we're far from that, if that's even a possibility. Even 5% is kind of a pipe dream at the moment.
What do you mean?
Well, we can touch it. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe you think 5% is more achievable than I am. But
no,
I think
it is. If you look in 2024, if RFK Jr. had actually just run a campaign and not dropped out and kept bringing his money and not dropped out, he was polling anywhere low end 5%, high end 19%, depending upon when and how. If you cut that, if you average that, he averaged around 12% is what he averaged. Usually, whatever you poll, you actually get about half at the actual ballot box. So average polling at 12, he'd have got 6%. The odds are Kennedy could have gotten 5%. in 2024. That was a realistic possible dream. And if Gary Johnson had a stronger campaign in 2016, he got a little over 3% of the vote. There was a chance. 5% is doable with the right candidate.
Oh, I agree. I think at least right now, probably more. I don't think the right candidate, unless you decide to really become a glutton for punishment, is
There's always
in the
Justin
works.
Amash.
Listen, man, I love it. I'd be there in a heartbeat if Justin Amash
I'm
came
with
back.
you.
But I also think
Justin
the
Amash.
party, I think Justin Amash and any others who would want to run are kind of waiting for the party to recover from some of the infighting and
It's
whatnot.
Thomas Massey.
Again, I'd love, if either of those ran, different story. I'm a little skeptical that they will, but I'll hold out some hope. So I hear your point. 5% is not impossible. It just seems like some things would have to change. People would have to enter the race. The party would have to. So, but even if we have, not a 5% type candidate or campaign, it's worth voting for because it sends a signal to the rest of the people who are still stuck in that two-party mindset. Because listen, showing up and not voting doesn't register anything.
No, it's not true. It's not true. The reverse is true. And I wish you were right, but it happened to me.
Okay.
I busted my rump in 2018, and I only got 2% of the vote. Now, for me, I still got ballot access, but the amount of people said, I voted for Larry Sharpe, he didn't win, I'll never vote for him again. That is insanely stupid. And I hear that all the time. Like every week, someone says that. I trusted him in 2018. He didn't win. So I'm going to go back to voting for the same idiots who keep smacking me in the face every week. And so you're right. Logically, you're correct. Emotionally, no. The third party is the bad person no matter what. They have to be perfect. They have to. And I'll give you another good example of this. If I'm a Republican and people are Republicans, they can disagree with half the stuff I think, and they still vote for me because I'm a Republican. I'm part of that team. If I'm a Democrat, same thing. Disagree with half the things I want, and they will still do it. But if I'm an independent, one thing that's wrong, they won't vote for me. And I hear all the time, I was going to support Larry Sharpe, but he's right-handed, and I can't vote for a right-handed guy. They'll say insanely dumb things like that all the time. They just want an excuse to go back to daddy, to go back to mama. That's all they want to go back to one or the other. I see it all the time. If you're going to do it, you've got to have a victory. Americans want a victory. And hold on, be very clear. The victory doesn't have to be a win. It could be 5%, but it's got to be a victory. They have to get something for their vote, or they will go right back to their old ways.
I think that's true for a portion of the voters. I'll grant you that. I do think, and I'll invoke more biblical language here, I think it's kind of like the parable of the sower. I think there are some people who are more fair weather, but I do think there are some people that are going to see that, like, wow, they're like, especially young people when they're kind of like first starting to pay attention to politics. If they notice people who are showing up and voting and who are out there on their social media accounts, out there on the streets doing door knocking, doing petitioning and whatnot, who are saying that, like, I refuse to participate in this sort of like theater of like, pick who's going to be my ruler, pick who's going to be my slave master, pick between the murderer and the mass murderer. I do think that does reach some people. I think that does matter.
It's true. Maybe I'm exaggerating.
But yeah, to be fair, there's always going to be people who also, although to me, those people kind of bug me because that's kind of the people, like I remember when I did door knocking a couple years ago, I knocked on a Republican voter's door, and he got so mad. It's like, oh, you libertarians, you always cost us the elections. And I'm just like, well, you guys could just, first of all, I already know that if you actually average it out, if you want to call it spoiling, we kind of equally pull from left and right. But I was like, listen, if you want to even say whatever, maybe in this county or this state or whatever, we pull more from the Republicans. And like, I don't know, just run a better candidate, like get good. Like, how weak is it to be like, it's kind of like this sort of like, you guys suck. You can't get anything done. Also, you make it so that we can't win.
Yes. It's wonderful how I'm useless, but also the reason. I'm both. I'm useless, but also the reason. Yeah. But no, I know this. I have data. I already know already. 30% of the people who vote for me are registered Democrats. 30% are registered either non-affiliated or independent, and 40% are Republicans. I'm almost a third. I'm a little bit more Republican, but I'm almost a third of the way through. So yeah, you're totally correct. I already have the data.
Yeah, exactly. So here we got a couple super chats I'll read through quick. We got one from and Andrea L 840. I had a Bernie bro tell me socialism would work if we just vote in the right people. I told
See
him
that?
we can't vote in the right people now because it's a choice of bad or worse. So that's kind of what we're getting at. I'm a recovering. I was a Bernie bro before I was a libertarian. I don't know how. I think there's
Oh, I understand that completely.
well, there's a untapped market of anti-war, corporate skeptic progressives who could
Yep.
easily, like I was, be converted to libertarianism if they just kind of are shown the economic side of things. But especially after seeing Bernie get screwed over by the Democratic Party around the
Absolutely.
same time that Ron Paul and Rand Paul were getting screwed over by the Republican Party, it's
Yep.
just like, but that's why, I don't know how much this affects you in the New York voter area, but this is why, and I've been guilty of this, and I've been trying to get better. It's so important not to get sucked into the whole culture war nonsense because that's just another tool
Yes.
of the duopoly to just make it so that
Absolutely.
well, maybe I won't be free, but at least the people with the wrong beliefs, won't be in power. So like never mind that no
It's
matter who
it's the
wins,
same
they steal
idea.
my income, they make
I
everything more
win. I
expensive.
win because they lose.
Right.
Not because my life is like what I was talking about. I win because they lose. It's not because my life is better. The other people lost, therefore I won. Again, I still can't pay my rent. My kids still can't read. I can't get a good job. I can't afford my car insurance. All those things are still true. My rent's too high. All those things are still true. But the other guys lost. So I won. There we go. But the guy who lost, and I'll give you the best example of this, the guys who lose still have tons of money and make PACs and still make tons of money and become consultants. So they still win.
Oh yeah. No, 100% that's true.
Beto O'Rourke hasn't won anything and he's still wealthy. He's fine.
Well, you know what's funny is that half the Republicans that were never Trumpers that Trump ran against in 2016 are now in his cabinet. Like, I remember when Trump would like make insults toward Marco Rubio, calling him little Marco and whatnot. And now
Neocons never go out of style, my friend. Neocons never go out of style. I
if you
said it
can't,
all the time.
yeah, if you
Never.
can't, I think they realized with Trump, but like if you can't beat him, just completely subvert him and just manipulate him into giving us everything we want anyway. In some ways, Trump is worse than a neocon because he doesn't have his own ideology, so he's just basically absorbed the neocon impulse, but then like mixed it with his impulsivity and
What's
lack
that?
of a
What's that?
filter.
That libertarian saying? No matter who you vote for, you get John
John
McCain.
McCain. Yeah, no,
No matter who you
exactly.
vote for, you get John McCain. Doesn't matter. Yes.
Yeah.
You get
So
Democrat John McCain or Republican John McCain. You just get John McCain. It doesn't matter. So yes. So, but I want to
absolutely.
bring up that Bernie piece. The Bernie piece that you brought up is the rebellion, right? And I'll give you two interesting examples for that. Number one is I got a buddy of mine who was a Bernie bro. And then when they got rid of Bernie, he voted Trump. It wasn't on policy. It was on rebellion. He saw Bernie as a rebel. So he's going to vote for
Right.
Bernie, just like I did when I was voting for Nader and for Perot. I couldn't have told you what their policies were. It was a rebel vote, right? So he
Right.
had a rebel vote. So when Bernie was gone, he's like, who's the next rebel? Oh, this Trump guy, he's a rebel. I'll vote for him. That's why. And then that guy became my marketing chief when I ran. That's how I know him. Because I was a rebel.
Yeah.
And I'll give you the second best one. A guy sent me a picture from New York State in front of his house. It's 2018 when I ran. Picture is a "Don't Tread on Me" sign, a Trump sign, a rebel flag, and a Larry Sharpe sign. And people were like, Larry, that is the weirdest thing. That makes no sense. I said, that makes total sense. I said, to that guy, all four of those are simply signs of rebellion. And he just sees that. He sees all of that as signs of rebellion. He sees them all as the same flag. And so I get you completely.
Yeah. No, I've always had, I think because I was raised in a conservative household, and then when I sort of as a teenager realized just kind of like the bad uh goods I was sold regarding like, we're a Christian nation and we're fighting these righteous wars against Islam. Oh, wait, no, actually, it turns out that actually for the last 50 years in foreign policy, we've kind of been the bad guys, butchering millions of innocent men, women, and children in the Middle East. And that kind of broke me. And I I kind of imbibed in that and drank from the well that exists in kind of the more lefty progressive circles of kind of like anti-America, kind of like think about like the flag burning and stuff like that. As I've matured, I've kind of moved a little bit away from that, but
Mhm.
I sort of struggle with this. Maybe I'd like to get your perspective on it because, like, on one hand, I it kind of because I opened this by talking about how we're in the 250th anniversary of America, and there's
Yep.
part of me that wants to sort of because I know that people on left and right make America and our mythos a kind of idol, right? Something that they kind of find their identity in. And I kind of want to like that expression like, you gotta outright the right and not left the left.
Yep.
I'm like,
Yep.
okay, maybe I need to do that with this kind of American exceptionalism thing. And I just need to really double down on like nothing we do is constitutional. We're betraying the original vision of the founding fathers and all that. And I guess there's utility to it, but also I don't know, that seems to have not worked with a lot of people. And there's also part of me that's just like, especially on the Christian angle, I'm like, listen, man, like, I guess it doesn't work for for the secular people listening to this, but if there's Christian people who listen to this, I just go, listen, like, what's your allegiance to? Is it to the kingdom of America, to the kingdom of Trump, to the kingdom of the Republican Party, or is it to something higher than that? And uh, I don't know. I get a little
I'm gonna give you my 2 cents on this.
okay.
The number one thing we have to do is fall back to community. I say it all the time. I bring it up all the time. What made America great always wasn't our government, it was our communities. That's what always did. We were able to create communities. The Amish could survive here and be fine, right? Local people in local groups could survive here and be fine. Immigrants could come here and create immigrant enclaves and be fine. Every religious sect, Mormons, once they got out west, could survive, right? So everyone could survive here. The Chinese could survive in communities. Community is the key. If we make local communities, if we push local communities, it won't matter. That's the point. It won't matter. We will want, and we saw it in places like World War I and World War II. Communities sent their young men voluntarily in to fight these wars because they believed in the nation. Why? Because the nation allowed their communities to thrive. The nation protected their communities where in other countries they couldn't. In authoritarian worlds, the first people they attack is always the minorities. In a libertarian world, the minorities are the heroes. They're the ones we protect. They're the ones that matter most. Community is everything. When you add government, you remove community. When you remove community, communities fail. We need more government, and we need more government. I'll give you 2 examples of that. Number one was the lockdowns. We saw it in the lockdowns in New York State. There were so many communities that have been supported by government for so long. When the lockdowns came, they had lost the institutional knowledge to support themselves. They didn't know how. They couldn't function without government anymore. That's problem number one. Problem number two just happened. Mamdani here in New York City, shoveling snow. He started paying people to shovel snow. They might go, wait a minute, is that a bad thing? Yes, it's a bad thing. Why? Because if you live in a city like I do, here's what actually happens. 3 dudes in one building own a car each. What happens? We all get out. I help dude number one shovel his car, dude number two. Then they go do number two's car. Then they all do my car. No one pays anybody. We just shovel out our own cars. It's what we do because we live in the same building. It's what we do. Or we hire some kids to do it if we're older, right? It's what we do, right? Or the kids do it for free because they're our kid. Like it's my son or my daughter who goes and does it. Whatever. We find an answer. We didn't require a government. But now that Mamdani's paid people, people aren't going to do it anymore. They're going to wait for the money now. Government just came in and wrecked community. And that's the issue.
No, I think that's 100% correct. I just wonder to what degree national identity is sort of at least hijacked by government in that way. I think there's a way to kind of rescue a sort of more natural idea of national.
No. Hold on. You don't need it is my point. You don't need it. If the government's job is to simply protect your community, you will be loyal to that government. That's my point. And another example I'll give you, World War II. Most people don't know this. The largest percentage, ethnic percentage of people in the country is German. I know, me too, as you see my flag behind me. Largest. Over 20% of all Americans have some German blood in them. Largest one. They volunteered to fight Germany in World War I and World War II. Why? Because the government protected the community, where in Germany didn't. We will be loyal to the nation if the nation defends our communities.
But I guess I see people being loyal to the nation now, even when the government doesn't defend our communities. I guess that's where
we're not loyal. We're marching everywhere. We're not loyal.
Well, I don't. I mean, some.
You have to bribe half of our kids to join the military, right? You got to bribe half of our kids to join the military with college or cash or whatever, or you got to make the neighborhood so bad that they have no choice but join the military nowadays. That's the biggest thing we find now all the time. And not just that, every time we do anything, you got protests in the street how bad the government is. Most of us don't vote anymore. No, we don't. We are the least patriotic we've ever been.
That's
not even
true.
close. We're the least patriotic we've ever, since like the beginning of our country. We are the least patriotic we've ever been. Why? Our communities don't exist. No community, no patriotism. That's how it works. It's exactly reversed.
Well, I think I agree that there's no true patriotism, but I think there's kind of this phony nationalism that whatever party is in power kind of push, and it is phony. It is artificial in a way, because I think true patriotism is not loyal to the nation above all. It's like, I love my country because my country and, hopefully the government too are doing what is right. Right? Like you should be patriotic because like, I'm proud to be an American because we are the good guys, because our government actually protects our rights, because we have a moral people that actually tries to be, good neighbors with the rest of the world and to each other. But we don't have that. So I think then we kind of settle, especially on the right at the moment, they settle for this sort of phony nationalism, which is like, well, we're number one, right? We're the best, we're the toughest. No one can mess with us.
Because we say so.
Right.
And because we can bomb people. That's the reason why. But let me go one step further if I could with this. When it comes to actual nationalism, happy people, that's the key part. In our founding documents, life, liberty, pursuit of happiness. Happy people don't want authoritarianism. Happy people don't want socialism. Happy people don't want fascism. 100%. Unhappy people want all those things because they believe falsely it will make them happy. Not just that, they have to understand why they're unhappy. Well, the other makes you unhappy. It's not your fault. The other, whoever the other is making you unhappy. Without the other, you would be happy. But the reality of it is you're happy when you have family and community. That's when you're actually happy. They've taken away family and community for our entire country. They've destroyed it. As they crush it, we're unhappy. Well, what can we do? We can't give back family and community because then I lose control. So instead, I decide the other is the reason why you're unhappy. So help me out. I'll beat the other for you, and then you'll be fine.
Yeah. No, that I 100% agree with. We'll read a couple more super chats here before we close out. Lunatic Libertarian for $2 said Larry Sharpe for New York governor. Central systems suck. 100%. True. And then Philip again, destroy the ring of power. You shall not pass. Yeah, true. There's all sorts of stuff baked into a lot of the classic literature. And of course, I would also argue into the biblical stories as well that should orient us towards distrusting centralized power. And yet, as you pointed out, there's people that keep clinging to it partially because they're falsely looking to power to save them from their problems. And one passage I love to bring up is 1 Samuel 8, because it's like, hey, this is not that new. The Israelites themselves were like, hey, we don't like being ruled over by judges anymore. Give us a king to fight our battles, to solve our problems for us. And didn't exactly go well for them. And I don't, that'll work. Exactly. And yeah, I mean, Larry, so how do we, while we live in the midst of all this chaos, what do we do beyond, obviously, if you live in New York, trying to do what you can to support you? I want to give you a moment to plug your campaign here before we hop off, but what do we do to to get people into the fight and to start reestablishing community when all the incentives, economic and political, and the media and all that seem kind of hell bent towards keeping our communities weak and fractured?
There's only one thing, and it's going to sound so cheesy, but it's absolutely true. And that is we have to give people hope. That's it. We have to give people hope. If people always ask me this question, Larry, when's it going to get so bad that people do things? It's not a thing. People, it can be bad. People just stay. And what that's called is learned helplessness. People in trouble just stay in trouble. They don't move out. Two things have to happen. It has to be bad, and there has to be hope. Those two things have to happen to move people. How do we know this? Just recently, the last two, left and right, successful campaigns across this country were both based upon hope. Barack Obama, literally hope and change, and Donald Trump, make America great again. Both were about hope, left hope versus right hope. But that's what got people out to vote, to do stuff, to care, to make movements. It's got to be and second thing, this is a problem that we have in the Libertarian Party. There has to be a face to it. It can't just be an idea. There's got to be a Barack Obama with hope and change or Trump with MAGA. There's got to be a face to it. And the hard part is the face has to be someone who won't go nuts. And the thing that I try to do all the time is I tell people this. People ask me, Larry, are you going to save the world? I go, no, I don't think I can. What can you do? I think I can set it up to be saved. What does that mean? And I said it before and I'll say it again. I will break a hole, but you have to follow me through. If you don't follow me through, we're done. It can be about me breaking the hole. Yes, but it can't be about me doing it all. This movement does not require a savior. This movement requires hundreds and hundreds of heroes. That's what it requires. Hundreds and hundreds of heroes. Someone's got to be in the front line. That's me. I will break a hole. I'll do it. But if you guys don't follow me through, we're finished.
Larry, we will follow you through. And where also can we follow you on socials? And if people want to check out your campaign and support you, where can they do that?
LarrySharpe.com. Please hook me up, show up, watch my stuff, click that like, click that, all those good things so that people see me. And if you can donate, please, LarrySharpe.com/donate.
Awesome. Thank you, Larry, for being here. We'll have to do it again sometime. Thank you, everyone, for listening. Make sure you like this video, subscribe if you haven't already, share it so more people can see it. And we'll be back again next Monday. And as I always conclude by saying, live at peace, live for Christ. Take care.